Here we are in Hardcastle Crags. Hardcastle Crags is one of the steep-sided valleys that we have in Calderdale. So overall, Calderdale is known as a rapid response catchment. And rapid response, as the name suggests, means that we can have very quick flood events which can happen over a very short space of time. December 2015 we had the probably record floods in the Calder Valley, and a number of people came together, local residents, engineers, landscape architects, hydrologists, and we started to look at the catchment as a whole.
After the flood, I thought, well, what is it we can do to try and assist the situation? So I began installing 1 or 2 plateways on some land I own above Peckett Well, and measuring the differences in the flow rates. And that was really the genesis of Slow and Flow. I met Robin Gray and several others, and we put a team together, and then we thought we'd look for some projects to do.
At that time there was a lot of talk about natural flood management. We looked at schemes both in Stroud and in Pickering where they'd used different natural techniques, and these we've brought into the Calder Valley. We're starting work with the National Trust, but the National Trust also want to do their bit in Hebden Bridge, and what that means is managing the woodlands in a different way so that we can actually reduce flooding.
We decided that we couldn't just sit back and not do anything. We had to kind of understand why the Calder Valley flooded. And so we started to do what we termed river surveys along all the main stretches of river and all the little tributaries that fed in to the main stretches of rivers along the valley. And we had countless volunteers doing that probably for a year. And that data then has been fed into the river modelling that's been carried out in association with the Environment Agency.
Here, Hardcastle Crags was the obvious choice because there was a compliant landowner, the National Trust, who was willing to have work done. So I then put a report together and submitted it to the Environment Agency, and they were happy to back it as a pilot project for the work on this land. So since probably the early part of this year, 2017, we've been installing leaky woody dams in some of the streams here to try and slow some of the flow.
We're using traditional woodland management techniques, using Nathan, a working horse, to access parts of the woods that you could never reach with machinery. And Nathan is part of traditional techniques of woodland management in the valley.
Whoa! You've got to touch warrior against this rock.
Yeah.
Hop one, hop one, hop one. Whoa. Down.
2, 3.
So what is a leaky woody dam? Well, a leaky woody dam is a random arrangement of logs in a stream course, and the purpose of which is to push out the water out of that stream course and onto the woodland floor. What that means is there is more permeability available for water to be absorbed by the ground if you can get it out onto the woodland floor. So that's really the idea behind it. And if you can get it out onto the woodland floor, then the water is slowed because there's more friction on it. So it arrives at the main river channel much slower than it otherwise would have done. So effectively what we've done is we've reduced the peak of the hydrograph so that our towns don't flood.
We are in the Crags, Hardcastle Crags today, with about 30 volunteers who are now building the leaky dams further up the channel, and also we're doing the gully stuffing. So we're finding all the logs and twigs and all the kind of detritus on the valley floor, which is going to be put into the gully, which then raises the level of the water in a peak flow in a big rainstorm, and it takes it out of the gullies onto the bank, and it soaks then into the bank as opposed to finding its way into the main channel of the river further downstream. We've had a variety of volunteers over the last 2 or 3 months. We've had people as young as 10 who were here a few weekends ago with their families, and we've had people all the way up into their 70s who have taken great delight in stuffing the gullies. Obviously some of the leaky dam work is quite a bit heavier, but the gully stuffing is ideal for the very old or the very young, because it's not so heavy lifting.
One more big one. Yeah, we'll put it in front here this side, yeah, please.
Mike?
Part of the Calder Valley clean-up team, that's what we set up last April, and hard to say, but probably done 10 to 20,000 hours of voluntary work. We had, last year we had just over 1,000 different volunteers came down and helped out. We'll probably get 700 or 800 this year, so we'll just keep going. And on a morning like this, beautiful Sunday morning, nice place like this, what better to do than come and help stuff a few gullies and things.
Each and every woody debris dam also has other beneficial impacts. It's not just about slowing the flow. Sediment drops down at the back of these dams, and that sediment is stopped from going into the main watercourse, so we're improving water quality for invertebrates in the main river. By taking out some trees, we're actually allowing light onto the forest floor. That means there's more vegetation on the forest floor, and that's beneficial because we have 50% of the species in the woodland are actually made up of what we call ground flora, and that ground flora is actually slowing the flow as well. So all sorts of multiple benefits from this kind of work, and it also helps reduce surface water flooding. And about 50% of the properties in Calderdale were flooded not because of a river, but because of surface water flooding.
Is that where you wanted it? Yeah. Perfect.
We've got a big scheme happening, big engineered scheme in the communities of Mythenroyd, Hebden Bridge and Todmorden. But actually this kind of work, actually up in the catchment where the source of the floods is, might be able to reduce the height of the walls, say by 5 centimetres. And that can actually have a dramatic reduction in terms of the costs of engineering. Because we've got a £33 million scheme, so spending a little bit of volunteer effort on the woods in Hardcastle Crags could help reduce the costs and reduce the flood impact in the communities downstream.
If we can take 10% off the flood peak, then that might mean that some of the flooding is not as extensive as it otherwise would have been with the woody debris in place. I think if we can do that, then there will be properties that are safe from flooding.